Hey guys, it's Go here from Eamon14, and I'm here with you guys today with a family brawl tactics guide. And so you can see here that the last season we went with an 83.3% win rate over 12 matches, which is very solid. We ended the season with top 10 in the North America region, and we felt like that was pretty good and was a success of a lot of the strategies that we employed. One of those strategies that we used was Discord coordination. So the in-game chats are not very effective at even one person being able to effectively convey their ideas to a group. When you get 5, 10, 15, 20 plus people trying to do that, it becomes basically impossible, especially if you guys are doing last-minute adjustments. That's basically impossible for anybody involved in that to be able to see what you're saying. So if you can see in this part of where you'll be at the adjusting phase, you'll see at the timer at the top, you'll see 1 hour and 23 minutes. And that's all fine. But when you have the menus open on your lanes as a leader, you cannot see that timer. And you also are viewing your own lanes and therefore will not be able to see any changes that are made with your enemies. So you, as a leader alone, without direct communication from your members, your hands are pretty much tied. You can do what you can, but it's much better to be able to respond in your own lanes to voice communication of other members in your Discord that are watching those lanes and also watching the timer if you're doing last-minute adjustments. I have personally seen a 1-second lane swap that was very effective. So against a very competent team, a very prepared team, you will want to have your eyes on that timer, and your leader cannot do it for you. You want to theorize your debuffs in your fight order, right? So maybe they have a stronger whale. Maybe you have 3 players that it doesn't look very confident in that lane that they can win any fights at all. So try to organize your fight orders in a way in which can apply the debuff to the whale, and perhaps you can take advantage of that debuff later on in the fights. You know, everybody in a family has a purpose. Some families are stronger than others, and just because they beat you with some numbers does not mean that you can use experience or think practically to overcome that obstacle. You want to know your enemies. You want to be able to do research on the teams that you are against. You want to check their roster. Perhaps you have friends from other servers. Perhaps you have some kind of resource available that can allow you to understand your enemies better and perhaps maybe even have direct insight on which lanes their whales are hiding in their top 3 spots. You want to theorize, where are their whales? Who are their whales? Which class are they? And are you required to even build a debuff? This is really the main concern with your fight orders and who you put which lane against who, right? So you might have one lane that is very archer heavy. There's a ton of archers in there. And their whale and stronger players might be a lot of mages, for example. I think that that's probably highly unlikely right now, but let's use it for a hypothetical scenario. In that case, you would want to try to swap your lane. Maybe it's their top lane that's really strong and heavy on mages, and it's your middle lane that's strong, but mostly archers. You want to swap those lanes so that you are effectively using the combat triangle, which I have another video covering. You want to use the combat triangle to your advantage whenever possible. You want to take advantage of the phase between your brawls. So when this fight is over, this adjustment phase will end. We will have a waiting period, and then we will have a fight. and there will be a slight pause before we enter the next adjustment phase with our next family. So when that phase starts, you want to screenshot the enemy lanes as quickly as possible so that any scramble techniques they might use, maybe they'll swap a bunch of fights around. They'll swap top to bottom and then the new bottom with mid, and then they can just scramble you, right? They can just change it however they want. They can change all the fights. They can make it a little bit more difficult for you to make rapid judgments during the closing of the adjustment phase. So you want to make sure that you're taking a screenshot as early as you can, because the fight before, perhaps they expose their whales, and you can get a screenshot of their list before they are able to effectively hide them, and therefore you will know which lanes to prioritize your strategies on. Focus on winning as many 1 versus 1s as possible to allow debuffing on the enemy whales. So if you have a lot of 18 million players, and so do they, you want to match those up as much as possible. So as the lane fights are continuing, you will have a situation where maybe the whale will be on his own and he will have 5 people that are, yes, weaker than him, but 5 people that he must beat in order to get to one of your whales. That will effectively give him a massive debuff against your whale. That would not be possible without those 18 million players winning their 1v1s in the first place. It doesn't matter if they have 10% HP left. A fight won is a debuff regardless of the difference in HP or anything such like that. Focus your strategies primarily on winning. So if you think that at the beginning of the week during your preparation phase, where you will make your lane placement lists and such like that, focus on your optimal chances of victory. Maybe you had a recent merge or a recent issue in the family where you had to bring in some lower players. Perhaps in that week, it might be better to focus a 2-lane winning strat and maybe give up the weaker players in a different lane just to make sure that you guys will win. Because if you spread your lanes too thin, perhaps you lose too many 1 versus 1s, and perhaps you can't debuff their whales, and you never know how strong the enemy whale will really be, mostly until the time comes, or if you have done extensive research, which I would highly recommend. Plan your fight order and your lane changes as close to the adjustment phase ending as possible. So, as I mentioned before, we were against a team called Dreadnought, and they pulled such an amazing lane switch on us at the very last second. And it was highly effective against us. I have a video on that, and they did beat our family very much so because of that lane change. That was pretty much a pivotal moment in their strategy that allowed them to beat my family and to ensure victory on their end despite having weaker whales. So I would highly, highly recommend you taking advantage with Discord communication, voice chat, all the other points mentioned before, and plan your fight order and make your changes as close to the end of the adjustment phase as possible. For example, we have 1 hour and 15 minutes left, and I have barely touched anything, and I do not plan to until very close to the end of the phase, because that will give the enemy time to respond. So guys, this is a general overview. I want to thank HIVE from 10004 server for helping contribute some of their thoughts. They are another top family that have very good sportsmanship. They are just very great people. I want to give them a quick shout out. I really appreciate you guys for sharing some of your information with the community and thinking very amicably. It's very respectable. And guys, make sure that you follow every step in this guide to ensure your chances of winning your brawls. And maybe my family or Hive will see you guys very soon. So thank you guys. I hope that this helps a lot. This is all that I have for you today. And thanks a lot for watching, you guys. I will see you next time.